If you've ever fixed fence in the rain or played nursemaid to a sick animal, you'll find yourself right at home on this episode of Food, Flowers, and Fun with livestock farmer Sara Prefontaine. If you're the woman who does it all, farm work, housework, bookwork, homework, getting up at the break of dawn, this is the podcast for you.
How do you multiply by fractions, Mom?
Get away from the cares of the day. Free stock, root stock, feed stock, seed stock. Chat with women around the world who raise food, flowers, and fun. With your host, Kay Castrataro. That's me. Welcome back to Food, Flowers, and Fun. And today we are talking to first generation farmer Sara Prefontaine. And you're going to love her. She is about as real get. And we're gonna jump right in. Sara, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And why don't you just start out and tell us who you are and where you are?
Oh boy, sure. So it all started. I've been riding horses for most of my life now. But it all actually began in, I want to say, around 2021 when we bought our house, and it's not farmland, and it's it's the furthest thing from farmland, actually, but it started with that and 6 chickens, I swear. And then it was like, oh, why don't we get some goats? Completely useless, but there they are. And then it was the pigs, worst mistake ever, but we still have them.
I was gonna say so first of all, you're in Rhode Island, right?
Yes.
And
we're in Scituate.
Scituate, Rhode Island, for those of you who are familiar with our tiny little ocean state. For those of you who don't, it's like way up in the northern part of the state. Yeah. So, a whole 40 minutes away from where I live in the southern part of the state.
Everything's far away here.
And then another 10 minutes and you're into like Massachusetts.
Right. Connecticut's right there.
Right. Connecticut. So anyway, so you're there and you started with these 6 chickens and you decided to get goats because honestly, like we see the cute little goats jumping on Instagram and we say we got to have goats because they're adorable, right? I have no idea how to keep them in a fence or how to.
Correct.
The fact that they will eat absolutely everything, whether it's
literally
poisonous, not poisonous, edible, not edible, like inedible, I should say. And then you got pigs. And, when we did the screening call, you also said worst mistake of your life. And then followed up with you still have them. So I just got to ask you, like, why are they the worst mistake of your life? I love pigs.
Why? Oh my God, really?
Totally love them. I adopted it from my sister. She's a big pig fan. We had pigs when I was younger.
Did you? Oh God. So I guess so there's a story behind the pigs, okay? Maybe I'll start with the story. Maybe it was just a bad setup because I remember having this call and telling my husband, Jay, that I was like, hey, we're going to get pigs and they need to be picked up by this weekend. So like all my girls that love animals and are like, yeah, let's do it. They get this. Okay. So they got to be picked up by Saturday. They're in New Hampshire. Off we go, I should say. Everybody. And we come home and it was the most like a spur of the moment thing. They had no fence. They had no place to live. So they're on the trailer. It's pouring rain. And poor Jay, you've met Jay. He's a sweetheart, is building my pig fence.
In the rain when
with the pigs on the trailer waiting to come off. Yes.
Oh, yep. So what I'm hearing is that it's not the pigs themselves that
Correct.
were such a bad idea. It was maybe a lack of planning that went into the pigs. And I have met Jay, for those of you who are watching. Jay is actually how I got hooked up with Sara because I was at a farmer's market doing a poetry reading of all things. And he was there actually selling meat. And I was like, oh, maybe your wife should be on my podcast because he was like, I'm not really the farmer. My wife is the farmer. I'm like, perfect. Sounds good. and here we got here. So we will talk more about Jay and his presence at the farmers market later.
Absolutely.
So Jay's out there and he's salvaging this pig expedition for you. And so he gets a fence up. Do they have like where do you put them? Do you just leave them in the trailer so that they can be out of the rain? Do you just let them go in the rain? What do you do with these pigs? I'm so fascinated by this.
So they share. So I didn't realize, but pigs are worse than goats. They get out of everything. So they are in this very, very, very ghetto setup of the fence and like this tarp to keep them out of the rain. So here we are. These pigs, I don't even know, I can't even remember how long it took for them to break out of the fence, but then it was an everyday occurrence. And why, my golly God, I hated them. I was like, this was the worst mistake of my life.
Poor pigs, and they're just doing pig things. Like, and the great thing about pigs is that they can also they root. And so, unlike like heifers, if you've got cattle, like they tend to like to get out of fences, but it's because they'll run through fences and that kind of thing. But pigs are different. They'll dig under fences
Yep.
and they'll dig under them and then the whole fence just kind of collapses because they've undermined your posts. And you can tell I've also spent time chasing pigs who have gotten out of fences, so I totally get it, but they're so cute. They really are cute.
Oh my gosh. I suppose.
did you
They're
did you actually end up slaughtering your pigs, or did you just kind of keep them?
so so yes. I do not have any one of those first sets of pigs. I have their daughter. I have the daughter,
Uh-huh.
which was actually planned, and when we took them, they're in a very specific spot, and like she's great. I love her, but we've had her since a baby. So my I think my best advice, and I think my story for everybody is just get baby animals because holy moly, don't inherit someone else's problem. Just get the babies, please. That's my story for everybody. And they're not the only story that I can attest to that. Usually if I get an animal that's like older is an issue. Always.
And I would like to also kind of go back to the idea that you are a first generation farmer. So,
Yes.
you do not come with like generations of inherited knowledge and experience. This is something that you're learning on the fly. So,
Yes, I am not seasoned.
so tell me how your first generation farm went from like, okay, we've got a few chickens, we've got a couple goats, we, went to New Hampshire, we've got a couple pigs now. How did that go from just being your backyard hobby? Oh, I'm such a
Hobby.
Rhinelander. Our background, our backyard hobby, to when you're actually at farmers markets selling your
Ooh,
meat and making money off of this, one would hope, or at least
am
bringing
I?
money in while money goes out. I don't know. We haven't even talked about the
Absolutely.
financial
Oh my
side of
gosh.
it.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you know. I mean, you're fifth generation, you know how the farms work. A lot. It can be very, very nice, but also a lot goes out. I don't even want to talk about my vet bills.
Oh no.
Just
Cash
the
flow. I
past
find
month.
that farms have a lot of cash flow. They don't always have a lot of profit.
Correct. Correct. Which I think people don't get because they're like, oh my God, they make so much. Oh, no, 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 no. You should see the amount coming out of my account. It's like, oh, geez. Anyway. um, so I guess it all started with like, so we got the six chickens and they were for eggs. And then we did the pigs and we had the meat. And we did, I think, our first round of meat birds that year as well. So it was like, okay, the fresh chicken, the fresh pork, and eggs. And it was like, okay, well, and now we have these goats. And I was like, well, why don't we do, oh my gosh, milk goats and get like the goat milk and like the goat cheese. Oh gosh. We did that one time. I haven't redone it. But It's because we wound up getting the cows. So now I have dairy cows. And
Okay.
it's so the amount of work that goes in it is more, but something about walking away with, I think we get right now from just one cow, I think we get anywhere from 4 to 6 gallons of milk a day.
Wow.
Whereas when you're done milking one go, it's like this much milk. So a little more rewarding because you're like, oh, look at all this. But anyway, so getting back to how we got into the farmers markets is we started like getting, we have all this meat now. So we did the cows, we did the pork, the chicken. We're starting sheep this year, so lamb.
Goodness.
I know, right? I can't help myself. It's like, oh, it's always like, this will be better, honey. I promise. And he's like, oh, okay. Oh, he's great. Okay, Sarah. It'll be better. This animal's going to be better. This one's worth it. I'll tell you how I sold the sheep to him. I promise.
Oh, you got
Oh
me
gosh, you're
hanging
gonna.
already.
I love it. You're gonna love it. The sheep, honey. The sheep are gonna be the break. Like they're gonna break. They're gonna break it. They're gonna be the deal breaker right here. They are the not trifecta because they do four things. I go that you get the lanolin off the wool. You get the wool. You can do milk, which if you didn't know, sheep's milk is the most digestible milk out there. So if you have any kind of allergen, you could try sheep's milk. And then the meat. I was like, four things off of one animal, and you just feed it like normal. I was like, this is it. I love it. But so we have all this stuff, and it kind of got to the point where I'm sitting on, 5 freezers in my basement, and I'm like, maybe I took this a little too far. Because how the heck do you go through all this meat? Okay. And then it was like, you know what? Let's try to get licensed.
You feel
So we
like my
got licensed.
parents, you could go carnivore. Like my parents have started that whole carnivore diet, which is a kind of it's still a mind shift for me. And I'm not exactly sure. Like it seems like such an unhealthy choice, and yet it seems to really be working for them. So, I don't know, but I mean, you go through an awful lot of meat when that's all you're
I know,
eating. So,
I know, right? Seriously.
so you could do that, but you decided you didn't want to go carnivore. You
No,
decided instead you were going to turn this into some money.
correct. Correct. That, and
Sounds
it
good.
must be because I'm Italian. I like pasta. So that carnivore thing's not going to work for me. I love pasta.
I hear you. I hear it. Fruits and vegetables. That's what did it for me. I tried the carnivore for like 2 weeks, and then I was so craving like strawberries, and I'm like, forget
Oh,
this.
I can't say that I've tried carnivore. I can't make it past. I have to give up pasta. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, no.
No.
All right, so now this is not a simple thing though. Like to go from having stuff in your freezer to being able to sell it is a very different thing. And I know because Rhode Island has been through a lot of law changes over the last couple of decades to make it so that farmers could actually sell their meat at farmers markets. Like that was a real challenge. At first, they got it so that you could sell directly off your farm, but
Yep.
even that was like I know one of the men who was involved in getting that to happen. And there was such a struggle with the Department of Health because the Department of Health was like convinced that people were going to get super, super sick off of buying meat at a farm because, they had this idea that that farmers were kind of going to take their meat and they were going to throw it in the manure and they were going to step all over it and then they were just going to sell it like that. I don't know. They
I'm
didn't
not
realize
sure
that
either.
even farmers like to have their meat not covered in manure.
Correct.
Like we tend
Correct.
but we finally, there was finally a lot of education, and I know our Division of Ag head Ken Ayers was amazing at working with the Department of Health and kind of everybody educating each other and getting to a point where you can not only sell it off the farm, but you
Yep.
can't sell it at farmers markets. And yeah, if y'all come back for another episode, you will also hear about how that works for the fishermen because we're going to be
Yes.
talking fishermen too, but fisherwoman, but I think she goes by fisherman. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. So tell me how you made that transition. What did you have to go through both emotionally, because I would imagine there's a big emotional shift that happens between I'm raising food for myself to now I'm selling it places. And also technically, like what did you have to do on your farm or change on your farm to be able to do that, if anything? I'm
Okay.
presuming.
So, it was I'm a very technical person. So I was, oh my, the poor guy from the Department of Health is all I can say. But many phone calls. I was on the phone with the DOH here in Rhode Island very frequently because I was just like, I'm not a law person. Like, I
You're
told you my
actually a
background
nurse.
is I'm a nurse. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know any law. I don't know, regulations for food. I don't know nothing. So I'm on the phone with the DOH getting educated because
Yep.
I have no idea. And, this poor man has had so many conversations with me. It must have gotten to the point where he was like, oh shit, Sarah. But he was great though. He answered every single one of my questions. A fantastic guy. So he helped me like very seamlessly because what I gathered from him was that they are in fact trying to make it where we're starting to raise our own food here again in Rhode Island. So it's very, at least at my level,
Hmm.
the farmers that are like, you know, way above me. I don't know what they have to go through. Like I had an inspector out here. The inspector came out. We did the whole thing and me and her were chit chatting a little bit. And I was like, so she's like, well, other big farms here in Rhode Island have inspectors daily. They have an office at the farm. I don't have to do that, but
Yeah.
these bigger farms do.
Right.
So I didn't have a big adjustment. I had an inspector come out. I filed all my paperwork, and that was it.
Do you have
Um,
do you have designated freezer space that is just for the meat you sell as
yes.
opposed to like
Yep.
kind of like the hand washing stations for vegetable and fruit farms, like they have to have designated spaces or
Yes.
even home kitchens. I don't
Correct.
dare I even ask if you want to get involved in that cooking on the farm.
R-
I mean, then you can get a whole kitchen, farm kitchen. Sorry, Jay.
Oh no, don't worry. I already did that license too. I don't do anything with it, but I got it.
Oh, you have
I
the
did. I
farm
was
kitchen.
like,
Of course, you're Italian.
yeah,
Of course, you
I
have the
think
farm
it's
kitchen.
well, I come on. I was like me and this guy from the DOH. It just made
Buddies.
sense because then nothing's holding me back. I don't have to reapply. We don't have to like sit here and hash it out. It was all set.
Nice. I love it. See, we didn't even talk about this, but I had a sense.
How did you know? How did you know?
Oh, fabulous. So you're not yet doing anything with that, but
No.
you were able to definitely move into selling stuff. So did you have to end up buying extra? Did you buy extra freezers? Did you have to upgrade at all, or did you have what you needed?
So it's kind of like the pig situation. I try to be a little bit better about it, but I wound up having to be like, I get home and I unpack the meat and I'm like, I gotta go buy another freezer right now, like right now. Because it's so full. I'm like, all right. So that's how we have the five, is that I needed actually, wait a minute.
Oh,
I
how
don't think
many
it's
freezers
five.
does she have?
One, two, three, four, five, six. Seven freezers actually.
And she did not realize this until just this moment, ladies and gentlemen.
I must have like
Her
forgot
electric
about
bill
the
now
last
makes a
two
whole
freezers
lot
I
more
bought.
sense. And she's going to be putting solar on her roof any day now.
No,
Oh, just kidding.
no, no solar.
Windmills?
No, I don't have enough property for that, and we're too much in the woods. It'll literally that would be a sight. In the tree line, just like the windmill chopping away the trees. Sounds a little scary.
Oh my goodness. So so I can tell that pre-planning is not always the strongest suit. And yet, what I'm finding is that that's not always a bad thing in business if you're willing to, if you're heading in a direction that you know is where you're supposed to be headed in the first place. I think sometimes we can plan ourselves into inaction. And that can be a very dangerous thing where we're so busy getting to know all of the ins and outs that we never actually make that next leap into actually doing. So
Don't pull the trigger.
right. So while some people may look at this and say, my goodness, Sarah, like, you might want to do a little bit of extra planning. What I notice about you is that you get into the situation and then you're committed and you're like, well, we can keep moving forward with this. And it seems to be working for you. Like, am I wrong about this
Oh gosh,
or
hold on, knock on some
oh,
wood.
here we go.
So it's, I guess
Not
to
that you don't
loop
plan
back,
at all.
I mhm. It's on my agenda for to be better. I'm getting better about the planning. It's taken a lot, and I don't think that they so what I've noticed from farming is that in just life in general, I guess not to get all sentimental here, but like you don't know. You don't know. So being able to be flexible and fly with the punches, it seems to work.
Yeah.
So being flexible is like huge because you just don't know. Like farming isn't set in stone. Like there's animals get sick, animals die. Like livestock, dead stock. People know that. Like and there's nothing. Yes, some of it is preventable. Some of it is treatable. Some of it's not, and some of it just happens.
Right.
Like they get into something that they're not supposed to get into, even though you do the absolute best you can to not let it happen. It still happens.
Yeah.
And now, either if you don't catch it, some of that stuff's really timely, you know?
Right.
So, but being able to kind of just like be flexible and just roll with it and just be like, okay, well, that wasn't in the plan. So I find sometimes when I over plan and it doesn't go to plan, it like sets me all out of whack. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
forget about it.
So let's talk about that a little bit because one of my big passions is talking about the stuff that drives our farm lives, like our mental health and our inner goals and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, because I think those are really the most important parts of our farm life and they get under recognized
Yeah.
often. And so that idea of having a plan that doesn't come to fruition or that twists and turns in a way that you weren't expecting. Do you have an example of a time that you are thinking about and how did you manage that? Because I think a lot of us do try to plan to
Okay.
avoid disaster, which is actually a
Okay.
very smart thing. Planning to avoid disaster is a smart thing. And sometimes, as you said, the disaster still happens. So,
The disaster still happens. All right. So let me think for a minute. But I guess the biggest plan I had. Here it is. I already got it for you. It happened this year, actually. I was planning. So here we go. Don't plan. Just don't plan. Um, so I had for the sheep, I have about 5 unregistered sheep, and I had a registered, like, male sheep,
Ram.
registered ram. And I was like, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to get some registered ewes. That way I can have registered stock. I have 4 kids, maybe they're going to get in 4-H. Not that they're old enough by now, but, I found that like maybe I want to start transitioning from unregistered stock, which most of mine is, to registered to have the option to have registered stock.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I
Smart
had this.
move. Sounds like a smart move to me so far. Not so much.
Wow, there were a lot of learning things that happened.
Hey,
Shame on me.
those of you who only listen to this podcast, you're really going to have to start watching it on YouTube because I have these guests that are just amazing. And when you see them, you're going to fall in love with them.
No,
So much of the communication is happening not on audio.
it's definitely the Italian in me for sure. So if you want to get a kicker, you gotta watch it.
So you're going to tell us your story about what happened when you were planning and it didn't go to plan.
Terrible. So so I had the registered ram. I was gonna get the registered eels. I bought the registered eels for my birthday. They were my
Happy
birthday
birthday.
present. Thank you. It was in July though. And so I bought them and I had this all set up. And I can't tell you the timeline exactly, but 2 weeks, I want to say even 2 weeks to a month out, my registered ram becomes ill.
No way.
I love this guy too. I loved him. Oh my God, he was the best. He was the best. So I don't know how crazy I want to get into it, but and I don't want to throw any digs here and so on and so forth. But I have this ram. I have the vet come out. They don't know. They want me to bring him to the hospital for 3 grand. And now, I mean, my fellow farmers will know this. It's like it's a $600 ram or 500. I forgot how much I paid for him. He's like 5, and I'm like 3 grand. And you could walk away, and he still died after 3 grand.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I had the vet come out and I did a lot of stuff on site. So I did my absolute best to turn it around.
Yep.
And he, Jay and I were here hanging IV fluids on him
Oh,
and
I've
doing
done that
stuff
with a
right
horse.
on
Done
the
that. Done that.
farmstead. Like, it's not like we tried nothing. I left no stone unturned.
Yep.
Like, I did the works here. Because because I have that nursing background, and even though it's not, you know, there's a line between animal and human, it's
But
comparable.
veins are veins. I mean,
Veins are
seriously.
veins,
Needles are needles.
whatever. IMs, like it's all the same stuff as long as you know where the sites are on the animals, which the vet told me. So I was like,
Right,
that's
exactly.
easy, perfect,
Well,
done.
I'm not a nurse and I was switching out IVs on a horse
Exactly.
for like 48 hours at my house. So I totally get
It's
it. I get it.
experience.
Spending the
Experience.
winter nights in the barn, cuddled up and yeah.
Yep.
Been there, done that.
Right. So essentially, I sent out all the testing, the chronic disease testing, the lab work, and it's been a week and a half. And he looks better. He doesn't look better. We did this cycle for a week and a half, and I finally was like, I started digging. I'm a digger. I'm a researcher, And I called the vet up and I was like, you think it could be, something else? Um, for whatever reason, they didn't think it would have been a parasite lungworm. And so, if you don't know anything about lungworm, it usually goes lungworm and then you get secondary pneumonia from it. So, the vet treated the pneumonia, but we didn't test for the lungworm. So, at a week and a half, the pneumonia cleared, but because he still had the lungworm,
He wasn't going to
he
get
got
better. And he was going to get
pneumonia
pneumonia
again.
again. Yep.
So, and at this point, it's gotten so bad because we're at the 2 week mark here that I went to treat him for the lungworm and he passed away on me.
Killed him.
And
Yep.
I was absolutely devastated. Devastated. Now, the good thing from it is if someone comes and presents like that, one, I now know that, like, okay, if I see these symptoms again, I'm going to immediately
I'm going to
treat for
worm.
lungworm.
I am
Treat
I
for
am
lungworm.
deworming.
That's it. I'm immediately treating for lungworm. That's it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yep.
And, we'll get the vet out or whatever. But So that was what I learned. And, and now when the vet does come out and we're in a situation like that again, at least I know what I need to be communicating with them. Okay, we need to test for XYZ. Let's treat for this and that.
Mm.
Tell me what you want me to do, so on and so forth. Um,
And that's such a
so
frustrating way to learn it. And
yes.
and how many of us have done that, like not only with our farms, but with our children, with our businesses, like any one of those kinds of things
Oh yeah.
where you look back and you say, well, how come they missed this? How come this wasn't considered?
Apparently it's very common.
And we don't know. We don't know if it's your first time with a ram, it's your first time as a parent. Those things that you don't know because you don't know what you don't know. And
Correctly.
and you trust that the experts are there and they've got your back. And sometimes, for whatever reason, the expert misses something. And that can
Yep.
be incredibly frustrating. And it
Absolutely.
can I putting myself in your shoes, and I'm sensing a lot of anger and just being like, seriously, how much did we spend having you come out here, running IVs, doing all of this stuff, and then the animal dies of something that I could have cured them of. Like that's the worst feeling I think is, and an animal you like that you could have
Oh, I love him
cured
so much.
had you right. So when that happens and we have these feelings of as my we were talking in church, oh, you have those feelings of anger, wrath, and malice where you,
Yeah.
you
Oh God.
not that I've ever felt anger, wrath, or
Never.
malice. I can't even imagine. But when you
No.
have those big feelings and farming is looking like not a really great option for you right now, what do you do with
Yep.
that? How do you manage that?
Oh, me?
Yeah, I'm curious.
Oh God. Well,
Oh dear.
this story goes further,
Oh, well,
actually.
let's hear
And
the
I
rest of it.
learned another bad lesson. So when I went and picked up my girl sheep, I learned two really good lessons this year, back to back with rams. You could say I have the worst luck right now with these rams, let me tell you. So I go and I get a call or a text or a message or whatever, and I have a ram for sale, ram lamb for sale. You know, okay. Well, you know what? My registered ram just died, so I'll take him. So I buy this little registered ram lamb, and
I can't
I
imagine where
made,
this is going.
I made a mistake. I made a rookie mistake. I made a rookie mistake. I didn't check the animal. So what happened is, I won't mention any names. I'm not saying anything. So I get in there. And I felt, one, we were rushed because all four kids, it was a whole trip, the trailer, the ride, the four kid or the three kids. I only had three with me. All the younger ones, of course. So we were on the tail end of our trip. Jay and I looked at each other and we're like, we got to make this snappy. We got to get them on and go. Cause we're done. The kids are done. We got a 3-hour ride home. So I get there. I felt a little rushed from the farmers, but that's okay because I was rushing too. So shame on me for not checking the animal before leaving. And he's not with me anymore. No. So what happened? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. 2 weeks after I got him. So, and shame on me because I've had experience in this one, but I didn't lose the animal. I caught it on the brink, and the vet even was like, "You are so lucky that you didn't lose her." The girl had the will to fight, apparently, because she was like on death's door. Vet's like, she's dead for sure, 100%. And I was like, okay, she's sitting in my backyard right now. She's fine. She looks great. Love her to death. But so this sheep,
Oh goodness.
I look at it and oops, I didn't check his FAMACHA. So he was so when it got to the point where I was like, he's not right. I'm gonna check his FAMACHA. I already knew. Pop the eyelid open, and his eyelid was as white as this pen, and I was like, here we go. Here we go. So I started treating him like I treated the girl. It was a goat, but same principle. So I started treating him the way I treated her, called the vet, was getting ready to have the vet come out. Damn thing didn't even make it 10 minutes. He started season, temped him at 100 and
Oh,
I can't remember, 107 temp. So of course, and at this point I was like, what the F did I just do? Because at this point, you're 2 weeks in, what did I bring on my property? Now, what are my other animals exposed to? Because sheep and goats are close together and
right. Yeah.
cattle are ruminants too. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what did I just do?
You can very easily exchange diseases through the
Don't get
whole
me
thing.
wrong. He was quarantined. He was quarantined. He was not with anybody else.
That's good.
I quarantine, I did the thing I was supposed to do. Um so I sent him out for a necropsy, which I usually wouldn't do, but I only had him for 2 weeks. Usually I can piece together what happened, like educationally, I guess, just experience. And I was like, I've only had him for 2 weeks. I have no idea what happened. But I kind of knew when I was sending him. So when I pulled his eyelid down, I was like, parasites. He went anemic. That's fine. And I was like, shame on me for not checking the FAMACHA. So, moral of the story, guys, is always check the FAMACHA on a goat sheep before you leave, please. And if they even look slightly pale, be like, no, no. Because the vet said, I think it's 4 weeks for an animal to have the parasite load go anemic and die. So he was already in that pathway before I got him. So there was at this point that was a shame on me moment.
Mm.
So now I lost my new breeding registered
Oh,
ram.
goodness.
Okay, so great. I go. I can't remember how many times I said I'm pissed off. I am, I was pissed, like so pissed. Because I have this vet record. I'm staring at this vet record saying they dewormed him. Again, shame on me for not assessing my ram that I just bought. But it said the I's were dotted, the T's were crossed by the breeder. Not by me, apparently. Um, my moral of this story is that oh well, move on. Lesson learned. Check for
Mm.
matcha before you leave. Move on, and just like here we go. Luckily I have my registered ram had three, nope, two rams. They're unregistered though. So that plan's already out the window. And you know what I'm not doing? I'm not going out and trying to buy a damn registered ram. I'm not doing it this year. I don't even know if I'm going to do it next year. I don't even know when I'm going to do it. I don't even know if I will do it. I
Yep.
don't know. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just breed them to, the my old registered rams, unregistered rams, and move on from there. And we'll see what happens. Maybe
Yep.
next year I'll look into a registered ram. Probably not. I don't think so. It would have to be the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
We're not here for it. But it's not something I'm gonna like, you know, it's not, we're not gonna sit here and stress that much over it. Was I heated? Yes, I was very, very angry. I was very, very angry. Mhm. Yes, I was. But I mean, over it, move on, and new plan. Again, roll with the punches, just
Well,
loose planning.
so this kind of leads me into something that we had talked about
Mm.
in the screening with the whole communications thing and how because I mean, yes, you are taking absolute responsibility for
Oh,
yourself,
yes.
and
Yeah.
I am 100% in charge. I mean, in favor of that because I do believe that we should all start with where am I responsible? And there is also a sense in which when something like this happens, we have a decision to make. Are we going to
Yep.
go back to the person who apparently did not do what they said they did, or else had it this unhealthy, again, do we go back and do we even address it, or do we make the
Move
decision
on.
that you made, which is like, we're just going to let it go? And there are some times when you choose to just let it go. And then there are other times when you say, no, I think this really needs to be addressed. And sometimes we might not even address it for ourselves because, I mean, let's face it, your ram's already dead.
They're gone.
You got nothing else you can do. And yet, sometimes we make a decision that's like, well, I can't change it for me, but maybe if this person gets called on it by me, they won't do it to the next person. Now, you never know, who
Maybe.
knows? And it's not necessarily your responsibility to do that. Where I am going with this is that the communications on farms and for farmers can be so complicated because we not
Absolutely.
only communicate with each other, like our spouses, Jay, in this case, we're gonna pull Jay into this conversation. Um, even though he's not here.
Oh, poor guy.
Totally not the way to do this, by the way, when you're communicating with somebody, you're supposed to direct them, talk directly to them, not talk about them. But
He doesn't
violate all
mind.
my rules and we're going to talk about him because Jay and you have a really interesting way of dealing with communications issues that have to do with the farm. And so I think this is a great segue
Let's do
into
it.
how the communication works for you and Jay in your farm business, because Jay made it clear to me when I met with him, even though he was there at the farmer's market selling the meat. Okay. And he was like, I'm not the farmer. This is my wife's business. I just sell the meat. And I didn't know you at that point. So I was just like, oh, that's really sweet of him to say. And then I realized that no, he's serious about that. So explain to me how you and Jay have learned to deal with some of the communications stuff that you run into, especially as a female farmer in, as we know, sometimes female farmers get treated with a little bit of, disrespect or disregard. So talk to me about how you manage that.
Okay, so I guess right from the I'll just like right out the gate. We'll be like, so Jay and I came to this conclusion before we get into the nitty-gritty of that situation. Jay and I are um as much as we are, if you ever see us communicate together, it's quite wild because you're like, how do these two even do it? Like, these two are so wild. It's great. It's really great, though. So, bringing it back in, Jay is 100%. I love how Jay is like, my wife does all the backhand stuff. She's the farmer. This is her thing. I just am here to sell it. It's great because on the flip side, when it's just me talking it the other way, it's like, oh, no, no, no. Jay is my forward facing guy. He deals with my customer base. That is his gig. I am here. And while I can speak to customers, that's just not my strong suit. I prefer the back end. Like I said, I'm like the research. I like to deal with like the diets of the animals. I handle the vet bills. I handle all the scheduling, like the slaughters, like all that stuff. Trying to do all of these things, events, and so on and so forth. That's kind of where I'm at. And Jay does
Interesting.
the front facing. Um, which is so funny because he's there and he's like, I don't know, that's Sarah's gig. But it works for us. So usually I'll throw it out there. So there may be times that I have found, and I'm sure that there's other girls or ladies out there that may find the same themselves in the same situation. I won't point fingers, and where you're maybe not getting that, you and this other person, whoever it may be, a hay dealer, or, a truck salesman, or whatever you need, tractor person. I don't know. Whatever you need. And you and the person aren't clicking. Or maybe your communication uh, way is not what they are like they're not receiving it well. So like we said, communication is not my strong suit. That is Jay's strong suit. He's a fantastic communicator. That is why he does it, because he makes it all finessey and beautiful, and it's like this great thing. I'm like cut and dry, blunt. You're getting like face value. it's, it's in the mind and it's coming out. So sometimes it doesn't work for a lot of people. So if I find myself in a situation where maybe I need a little bit of finesse, I'll loop Jay in and I'll be like, hey, hun, this is the situation I'm having. I'm having, trouble communicating my desires with a client, or with a contractor, or whatever the person may be. And I'll be like, hey, can you, this is literally X, Y, and Z. This is my research. This is what I'm looking for. Here we are. Can you go in and talk about this with this person? Because he has a way of taking what I give him and being able to structure it into a more digestible way for the general population, which I don't have that skill. So, and I accept it. And I accept that. And it's fine. And that's fine, because that's just not my skill. And I mean, I'm trying. Don't get me wrong. I am trying. But
You're on a podcast. That's something.
I
You are
mean,
being
yes,
so forward facing right now. This is huge. This is great. And you're doing
right.
fabulously, I might add.
That I'm working on it a lot. It's like one of the skills I'm working on, planning and communication. I mean, I cannot even say how many times Jay has told me. He's like, God, let me think of it. I don't even know. He hasn't said it in a while, that maybe I won't be able to remember the exact words, but he's like, your delivery sucks. My communication delivery sucks. Yes, it does. It sure does. It sure does. Oh, yeah, don't cry.
What you're talking about?
So with that being said, knowing this information about myself, I take the step back. So I remember when we first had this conversation, it works for some people. Other people are like, oh, heck no. No way am I going to step down. I find it easier to step off to the side and let my partner deal with it, who's really good at finessing.
Yeah.
And he has a really good communication skill. Like, he has his undergrad in communication, and, he's been in this. I swear to God, I'm not even
No,
kidding.
I
Jay's
believe
very
you.
established as a man. He's got his undergrad in communication. He just graduated with his MBA. He's a real smart dude, like good in finances, good with communication. And that's great. There's some things that we and
Good at
we
building pink
complement each other
fences.
well. What'd you say? And he's good at building pink fences in the rain. He bitches, he yells at me in the process. That's okay. That's okay. Because guess what? The pigs are there and they're staying. So I guess it's fair. But anyway, so yes, that is, so I find it easier just to step off to the side and let him deal with it.
So
Or I should.
what I love about this is that this is a really good example of using partner strengths to, build a business that works for you. And as you said, there are some women who would be like, heck no, there is no stinking way that I am going to need some guy to come along and communicate with these other guys who are disrespecting me. Like, and kudos to them for that. Like, however you need to deal with that is great. What I love is the mutual humility that you both show, and the mutual respect where you say, both of you are like, okay, well, these are the areas that I'm strong at, and I'm going to maximize the areas I'm strong at, and these are the areas I'm weaker at, so I'm going to let somebody else do those because that's their strength. And that is,
Yes.
I think, I'm a big fan of a strengths-based approach where we build on the things that we already do well. And that doesn't mean, like you said, it doesn't mean that we just say, oh, I'm a bad communicator. I am just not going to learn how to communicate. No, that's just
Right.
laziness. Like, I'm sorry. But if you just refuse to learn things that are very important for functioning with people, that's just plain being lazy and selfish. But
Correct.
but you can work on on a weakness without feeling like you have to become an expert in it and without
Correct.
beating yourself up because that's not your strong suit. Like to say, okay, yeah, I need to refine this and I'm going
Yeah.
to keep growing. And it's okay to let somebody else who doesn't have to work so hard at it do it for me because
Right.
chances are Jay doesn't mind doing it as much as you
No.
would. And it takes him less effort. Like, so
Correct.
it's like me with the plumbing. I say this all the time. I'm like, could I learn how to do basic plumbing? Yes. Yes, I could. Because I'm not stupid. Do I want to? No. I do not want to learn how to do plumbing. I can do a patch if I need to. I can do a quick patch on a leaky pipe. Great. That's as much as I want to know. And
And I
I am
think that is
supporting the
key.
local economy by paying my guy Steve to come and take care of my plumbing issues.
Yes. Yes.
Isn't
Yes.
that good?
It is. And that's something that I
Somebody
think
adopt.
I would want to highlight and capitalize on for the people that feel like, because at this point in farming, it's like you feel like you have to do it all, but you don't. You don't have to be. So I get it if you're like a solo operation. Sorry, guys. Kudos to you guys because I know how hard it is, and I have Jay.
Hmm.
And it's not easy, it's not a cakewalk, it's hard, but I think that it's important to be like, okay, well, what do you want to face, like what do you want to do? So like, he handles the communication, and while I'm not giving up on it and not trying to learn or be better and work on my communication skills, there's other things that are demanding my attention that he necessarily doesn't want to, like implementing or caring, um, implementing some health stuff on the farm, caring for some animals. Like I don't remember if we talked about, I just got some news about one of my cows who she has chronic respiratory illness. And I love her so much. She's only 4, but I am like, I will stop and I'll take time out of my schedule on my day to research, like, how can I make this better for her? How can we do this better? Because I don't want to just be like, Paul, move on with my life. Like, I genuinely love her. And as a slow and small startup farm, that it's not that easy. The cattle business is booming right now. I can't just walk away from a cow. Like, she's a part of my breeding stock.
Yep.
So right now, that's actually what my time is being spent on. It's actually on my schedule, on my plan today is to, really concrete down what I plan on, doing for her and helping her with, and then ordering it and implementing it in her daily routine.
Yep.
So that's where I am. And Jay keeps doing his communication things.
There you go. And I do. I think that's a really great example of how when you're working together
Yeah.
in any form of farming team,
Yeah.
often it's partners, spouses, that kind of thing. But it doesn't always have to be. It can be
No.
parents and children, it can be
Yep.
friends, it can be, however it is that you've structured your farm business, like to definitely dig into each other's strengths and
And use them.
capitalize on those. Right, exactly. And to not, again, like not to look at ourselves and say, "Oh, I'm so awful because I'm not good at this." Well, okay, you're not good at that, and you can work on it, and you have other things you're really good at. So, most of your effort should be building on what you are good at and
Correct.
capitalizing on that instead of, feeling bad about what you don't have or aren't. And that's, I mean, if we had started this conversation an hour ago, we could go just on this topic for an
I'm
hour. But I'm looking
sure.
I'm looking at the clock and saying, "Oh, we are coming down to the end." So, I am going to ask you the question that I ask
Oh
everybody
man.
at the end of my show. And if you had one piece of advice that you think all farmers should have, what would that be, Sarah?
Oh my goodness. I appreciate the heads up on this question. I've thought really long and hard on it. And to be quite frank with you, I've thought I'm going to stick with what my plan was. But as this whole conversation unraveled, I was like, that would really be a good piece of advice. I wish I knew that moving forward. But anyway, so
Well,
my
tell
piece
us,
of
what
advice.
is it? Is it one that I'm hiding, or like tell us
Oh
what it
no,
is?
we've already talked about it. I mean, like, use your strengths.
Oh,
Everybody use their strengths. Like, just recap the whole thing.
yeah.
I suggest any of those things would be great. But my suggestion for this question would be to always be open-minded and
Mm.
willing to learn. Because, there's going to be some hate on this one, but you don't know it all. And your method might not be the 100%. So even if you take a small, like somebody does something crazy, like, I don't know, like, I think my friend at a local farm, she puts copper pipes in her water bucket. Like, do I want to stop and remask my whole farm for hers? No. Will I add copper pipes to prevent algae growth in my water buckets? Probably, yes, because now I don't have to. Oh, look, a cat.
Yes,
Here's my
this is
ADHD.
Vavochka.
There's
I
my
was trying to
ADHD kicking
avoid
in.
bringing attention to the fact that he hopped up on my lap, but at least he's not biting me like he did in one of the earlier episodes. So this is
That's perfect. But
we're
yes,
flexible.
very flexible, especially here. um but that would be my thing, is that you always be open-minded, and just like, you can learn something from someone you least expect. Even if they're a beginner, they might know something you don't.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that. And there is absolutely nothing. I truly do. Like that whole, you can learn from somebody, even the beginners. I think that whole teachable spirit, that humble spirit that we were talking about earlier, I love that. So I'm gonna leave us with that. And
I love
thank
it.
you so much, Sarah, for joining us. And
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing what happens in the future with your Rams or lack thereof.
Oh God.
I
Oh
look
God.
forward to seeing the rest of you again on Food, Flowers, and Fun.
How do you multiply by fractions now?
Farmers calling, our show is all done. Goodbye, farewell, so long, adieu. See you next week, same time, same place for Food, Flowers, and Fun. Go in peace. Visit us at www.penlightfarmers.com.